Well, Kim, this inquiry has heard of gross inadequacies within that hotel quarantine system for return travellers coming back to Melbourne. Today we heard from those return travellers, and we also heard from staff who had been recruited to mind them while they were in a 14-day quarantine. One staff member said he received absolutely no training in infection control, no training either into how to properly put on or take off his PPE. He said he just had to use his own intuition to figure out how to correctly do that. And as we know, it's an incredibly delicate process, particularly the removal of that PPE, just to make sure that it doesn't become contaminated. Now, the judicial inquiry will hand down its findings in November, and there will likely be a reckoning for Premier Daniel Andrews, because 99% of cases in a brutal second wave of coronavirus that's hit Victoria can be traced directly back to breaches within that hotel quarantine system. So if that system had done its job, Kim, perhaps Victoria could have avoided a second wave. She was somebody who was very well known in the journalistic community in Beijing and well known to CGTN viewers, and all of a sudden, poof, she's gone, and we just don't know why. Foreign Minister Marise Payne today has said that she is being held without charge, and she could be held for months because the Chinese system, as it is, does not require a charge in order to hold her for several months. We know that another Australian critic of the Chinese government named Yang Hengjun has been imprisoned in China, or held in China, for over 500 days, John.
CNN's Angus Watson is following the story from Sydney, Australia. He joins us now. Good to see you, Angus. So what is the latest on this new outbreak and, of course, reaction to delaying the election?
Well, Rosemary, Jacinda Ardern taking the extraordinary step of pushing back the election by 4 weeks, as you'd have said. That's not a decision that she would have made lightly, but the government there just does not think that it's safe enough to hold the vote with Auckland, its major city, its largest city, now in the grip of a new cluster of COVID-19. You'll remember that it wasn't too long ago that New Zealand was celebrating 100 days without a case of community transmission. Now the feeling that New Zealand's right back where it started, trying to put out the spread. Here's what Jacinda Ardern said about that this morning.
A spirit etched into stone, enduring here for thousands of years. Imprints of the world's oldest living culture. But many Indigenous Australians keep to a rule: never reveal the location of a sacred site. Share them and they could be destroyed.
It's all right to say, oh, that mountain, how significant is that? Well, it's like a page of a book. If you rip that hill out, the other hills have lost part of the page. That's the loss of our culture.
In May, mining giant Rio Tinto tore a page from a 46,000-year-old book. An internal study proved 2 rock shelters in Western Australia could have been an enormous museum of information. But Rio Tinto had government permission to blow them up in search for iron ore. So it did.
The caves that Rio Tinto destroyed earlier this year were just one among countless Indigenous sacred sites across Australia. Here in northern New South Wales, people from the Gomeroi Nation are fighting to save their heritage from a proposed coal mine to be operated by a Chinese company.
A desperate effort by rescuers to judge which of these whales are still alive before attempting to refloat them and move each individually to the safety of deeper waters. Over 450 of these pilot whales have been found stranded on Tasmania's treacherous coastline since Monday.
Any whale we save, we're considering a real win.
Australia's rugged and remote southern island has seen grim mass beaching events before, particularly with pilot whales, known as close-knit and social animals. That doesn't make pictures like these any easier to see. Angus Watson in Sydney, Australia.